Morning. Morning, Steph. How are you? Oh, Susan, I put this here for you because it's back in stock. You were the one who was trying to buy, was it you, Susan, who was trying to buy the vapor bomb yesterday and it wouldn't let you? I think it's back in stock now. So, you know, for whatever that's worth. Or something. That's fair. Well, never mind then. Never mind. They're so fast to ship. I haven't shipped anything. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, they have a pretty big team, which is great. They have a whole warehouse. It's a full operation over there. I'm going tomorrow. Morning. I have to go over there tomorrow and see the whole thing in person. I don't know what happened to the signs that they were mailing me. I think that they may have been misdelivered or something, so I'm going to see if they'll let me just pick them up in person tomorrow, which will be fun. Maybe I can do, hey Danny, maybe I can do a live while I do it. Maybe I'll let you guys pick which ones we get to review. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I said. My husband's family is coming into town this weekend also, so that's something. That is something. I have a question. Wait, hold on. For the neurodivergent with tattoos, did the noise from the gun calm them down? I zoned it out eventually. I thought it was going to bother me for longer, but eventually it just becomes like white noise and I don't hear it anymore. Which is weird because the rain machine for her, I always hear and it never zones out. Weird, right? I don't know. Very strange. You zoned into it. Interesting. Are you getting a bit more then? Well, you know what? Yours was also small, so you might not have been there long enough. Morning, Jen, for it to really zone out. Like if you had been there for as long as the one on my leg, for example, you might have zoned out too. You know? Like I have that one that's my whole fly over here. Eventually I just didn't even notice it. Tomorrow's new tattoo day for you, so that's very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah, you were only there for what? That took probably half an hour-ish, maybe a little less. What's the longest tattoo anyone's ever had? Drop your tattoo time in the comments. I want to know. The longest one I've ever sat for is like 8 hours. It was a lot. Or maybe it was 6 hours, but it was a lot either way. But, I mean, I was there for 8 hours, but like she didn't tattoo for 8 hours straight because we did have a lunch break, so, you know. And she did take other breaks and photographs and stuff. 3 hours, yeah. This one on my leg took a really long time. Really long time. But it's great. I'm thrilled with it. I have no complaints, so it was worth every second of it. 45 minutes for both. Yeah. This one also took a long time because it's so detailed, even though it's smaller. Yeah, that's about as long as he was working on it. The process took longer because yeah, of course. That's what I was saying. I was there for 8 hours, but she didn't tattoo for 8 hours. You know? It's the whole thing. Okay. Delightful. Delightful. Let's go get some reading done. After class today, whoa, that was weird. After class today, nope, I don't know why I keep saying it like that. That's not the real thing. After book club today, Secret Baby and I are going to a Wicked themed mommy and baby workout class. How cool is that? We also decorated our tree last night, which I will show you guys here momentarily. You can see we have a bowl full of bulbs there. Okay, hold on. Let's get our book pinned. Oh wait, really quickly. Is anyone else made hungry by looking at this slime right here? Insane. Oh, you have hot water. Did you take a shower? It probably feels amazing. So there's our tree. The baby 100% understood the decorating process, and we got some amazing, adorable photos of her putting stuff on the tree. So freaking cute. She loved it. She loved the decorating process. It was so adorable. I didn't think she was going to understand it, but she totally did, and it was so freaking cute. Like, I have pictures of her holding the ornaments by their strings and trying to put them on the tree. I was like, my whole heart is gonna explode. It was so cute. Can you check the liquid IV? It's just gone. Really? Well, let's see. Damn, all the sugar-free ones are sold out. Nikki, you're right, they're just gone. I just checked their whole shop. The only ones they have are the sugar ones. Wow, it's a good thing we got them when we got them. Oh my gosh. I mean, that sale went crazy. They're literally sold out. All the sugar-free flavors are gone. The more you know. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yours arrives today. Mine arrived yesterday, you know, which is great. Okay, I wanted to pin our book so that everyone knows what we're reading, obviously. Where's our book? What is happening? Why is this doing this to me? Why doesn't it just give me the book? There we go. Okay, that's our book. Boom. Yeah, I guess they're sold out. Okay, so we are reading an author's Odyssey, the 5th book in the Land of Stories series. Oh, I did? Oh, you are so welcome, Stephanie. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick the tripod. Okay, so this is how far we are. Look at us go. We're probably gonna finish this book next week, like for sure, which means our December book will be the last book in this series, even though there are 3 more in the prequel series that we'll read after. So, anyway, we were halfway through a chapter yesterday when we had to end, so we'll finish chapter 17 right now. We'll read chapter 18 and possibly chapter 19. Let's see how fast we can get through it. I do have to go on time today because I have that workout class, but let's go. The worst part about life in the abandoned mine was the constant waiting. It might have been easier if the refugees had any indication of what they were waiting for, but with each passing day, there was no good or bad news to share. They were becoming so restless that any information would have been better than none at all. Oops, I didn't put my glasses on. Come on, Sasha. To pass the time, the refugees formed a little academy within the mine, and they taught one another different skills. Jack and the Tin Woodman taught the villagers how to sculpt using their axes. Soon, there wasn't a stalagmite in the mine that hadn't been carved into a squirrel, a beanstalk, a tower, or even a mermaid. Robin Hood and the Merry Men gave the queens archery and sword-throwing lessons, and the Sherwood natives became a little invasive of the queen's personal space by showing them how to improve their form, which got them dirty looks from the kings. Who needs vision anyway? I mean, your reader does, for sure. Red's granny and the old woman from the Shoe Inn kept the kings and the soldiers busy with sewing lessons. After a few days, the men had produced their first quilt, and they proudly hung it to display for the rest of the mine to see. Remember, any man can shape a nation with a crown, but it takes a real man to start a quilt from a thread, Granny said, and Trollbella tried to teach Peter Pan and the Lost Boys to dance, but they weren't very enthusiastic students. It didn't matter how many times she went over the steps of her routine, the boys only goofed off and teased one another. I don't know how to be more clear with you, Trollbella said. It's step, touch, kickball change, reach to the right, reach to the left, kickball change, shimmy to the front, shimmy to the back, pirouette and pose. There is no nose picking, pants dropping, or eye poking, or tongue showing in any of the choreography I gave you. Peter made a funny face at the Troll Queen behind her back, and all the Lost Boys laughed. She turned around just in time to see it, and when Trollbella first laid eyes on the boy who never grew up, she was completely smitten, but the more his true colors showed, the more she disliked him. He was all sparkle and no substance. The Troll Queen figured that it was time to break the news to him, so she looked Peter Pan directly in the eye, and she caressed his face. I had such high hopes for us, but I'm afraid it's not going to work out, Trollbella said, and she covered Peter's mouth to silence his protest, even though he didn't try to argue. We simply have different needs, Trollbella explained. I am looking for romantic strolls. You need a stroller. I'm looking for love and lust. You need a leash. And I'm looking for Butter Boy, and you're just a butter toy. But let's part as friends. Trollbella sauntered away from Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. The boys exchanged a puzzled look, not sure if that was part of the dance lesson or not. Goldilocks lay in the corner of the mine, using Lester as a pillow and Claudius as a footstool. The expectant mother was overdue and very eager to deliver her baby. Who could not miss Trollbella, right, Naisa? Her back arches and her irritability increases every day. Jack had to take any sharp objects away from her so that she wouldn't have anything to throw during her mood swings. Harsh. Hagetta boiled some herbs in her cauldron and gave the concoction to Goldilocks for the pain. The traveling tradesman dangled a triangular stone on a string over her pregnant belly and studied the movements very closely. I know, she's hilarious, Sloth. It's ridiculous. Red watched the tradesman like he was a lunatic. What are you doing? Red asked. I'm predicting the child's gender, the traveling tradesman said. If the stone swings in a circle, it's a girl. If it moves back and forth, it's a boy. And what if it gets ripped out of your hand and thrown across the mine? Red asked. It's all right. I already know it's going to be a boy, Goldilocks said. How could you possibly know that? Red asked. Mother's intuition, Goldilocks said. It's one of the perks that comes with the bloating, the back pain, and the unstable emotions. We're finishing up chapter 17, but we're only doing 2 more pages, 2 pages back and front, so I guess 4 pages, and then we're going to read chapter 18 today. We're on page 247 right now, out of 438, so we're more than halfway through. A niece would have been better for me, Red said. I could dress her up in little dresses and apply blush to her tiny cheeks and put dainty bows in her hair. I suppose I could do that to a nephew too, but he might resent me for it later on. Goldilocks rolled her eyes. Your request has been submitted, she said, and Red grabbed the string of the tradesman's triangular stone and forced it to swing in a circle above Goldilocks' stomach, as if that would do the trick. Have you chosen a name yet? Hagetta asked. No, not yet, Goldilocks said. I want his name to be special, and I want it to mean something and inspire him for his whole life. You know, Red works for both a boy and a girl, Red said, and I happen to be very special and meaningful and an inspiring person. Goldilocks cringed at the thought of bringing another Red into the world. No, absolutely not, she said. I want it to be original and freeing, like River or Robin or Alex and Connor. Red scrunched her nose and crossed her arms. How are Alex and Connor original or freeing? No, Alex and Connor are here, Goldilocks yelled. Look, right over there. Goldilocks sat up and pointed at the to the back of the mind. To the back of the mine, not mind. Why can't I speak? Everyone went dead silent and turned to where she was pointing, and when they saw Alex and Connor entering with Rook and Cornelius, the refugees burst into cheers and the mine vibrated with joy. Although it hadn't been too long since they'd seen most of them, the twins felt like they were walking into a reunion. "Oh, thank you, Lolo. That's so sweet. I know, it's a great picture, right? I got really lucky with that one." Their friends surrounded them and stood in lines to embrace them. There were so many familiar faces they weren't expecting to see. They didn't know who to say hello to first. Everyone looked more tired, thinner, and paler than before. Living in the mine had worn them down. "It's so wonderful to see you," Alex said. "Goldilocks, you look like you're about to explode," Connor said. "Yeah, from your mouth to God's ears," Goldilocks said. "Are you guys doing okay?" Alex asked. "Is everyone healthy, unharmed?" "We're taking it one day at a time," Jack said. "How are you two? And where have you been?" Alex and Connor shared a smile, knowing the news with excitement. "We've been in the other world recruiting an army to fight the literary villains," Connor announced. "Well, that's terrific," the Tin Woodman said. "What kind of army?" "An army of my characters," Connor said. "We use the portal portion on my short stories from school, and so far we've enlisted pirates, sailors, cyborgs. I'll explain those later." And then all the refugees turned to the traveling tradesman. The old geezer crossed his arms, leaned on a stalagmite, and glared at the others with a look that said, "I told you so." "That's the best news that we've heard in ages," Sir Lambton said. "How soon until it's ready for battle?" "Well, it won't be long," Alex said. "We just have 2 more stops and the army will be complete." "Did you hear that, man?" Robin Hood asked the merry men. "Soon we shall be out of the shadows of solitude and under the sunlight of war. How marvelous!" Red pushed past the villagers, the animals, and the other royals to get close to the twins. "Excuse me, pardon me, a real friend of theirs is coming through," she said. "Alex and Connor, it's so lovely to see that you're all right." And then she suddenly grabbed them both by the shirt and looked frantically into their eyes. "You've got to get me out of here. There are peasants and animals and men who talk to marbles, and Charlie isn't even here to calm me down." The twins gently removed her hands from their clothing and stepped away. "That's actually why we're here," Connor said. "Our mom and stepdad are watching my characters for us while we recruit the others, but they need a hand. We're hoping to get a few of you to come back with us and help them supervise. There's more characters there than they can handle." "How many people do you need?" Jack asked, and Alex and Connor looked around the mine. Red wasn't the only one who looked desperate for a break. The twins would have a really hard time refusing anyone's help. The more the merrier," Connor said. "But let's hurry, because the people of the world need us." Alex set the storybook on the ground and opened the cover. The beam of light was the brightest thing that many of the refugees had seen in days, and they shielded their eyes from it. Before Connor could explain what they were going to do, Red ran into the beam of light and disappeared from the mine. She was followed by Claudius, Jack and Goldilocks, Robin Hood and the Merry Men, Lester and the Tin Woodman, Peter and the Lost Boys, and Connor lost count of how many people were traveling into the other world when he felt a tap on his shoulder.
"You've come back for me, Butter Boy,"
Trollbella said.
"I don't know why I worried so. You've never let me down before. I know the pain of being away from each other can be overwhelming, so please don't waste your energy with a personal request for me to accompany you there. No, I would be delighted to visit the other world."
And before Connor could stop her, Trollbella ran into the beam of light with the others. "Okay, well, we've definitely got enough help," Connor said. "We should get back, and we should finish recruiting the army. If any of you need us, we'll be just on the other side of this beam." "We'll stay behind and look after the others," Sir Lambton said. "Thank you," Alex said. "We'll be back soon with help. Everyone stay safe." The twins stepped through the beam of light and returned to the other world. Sir Lambton, Sir Grant, Hagetta, the traveling tradesman, Brooke, Cornelius, Red's granny, the old woman from the shoe-in, the royal families, the villagers, and all the animals lowered their heads in a moment of silence. They all collectively said a prayer for the twins' success to continue and for them to be able to form an army to save the fairy tale world. Unfortunately for the occupants that remained, their quiet moment was interrupted by another unexpected visitor. Unbeknownst to Alex and Connor, they had been followed through the dwarf forest and into the secret tunnel. The refugees saw something moving in the back of the mine, and they heard hissing and a rattling coming from a large silhouette. "What was that?" Sir Grant asked. The soldiers drew their swords and walked toward the sound as a pair of bright red eyes glowed from the shadows, and all the refugees froze where they stood. But they were frozen by much more than fear. Oops. Well, looks like the mythical beast has made it into the tunnel. Not good. That is bad, not good. Bad news. All right, we are on page 279. Chapter 18 is called St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. Can I say a bad word? You can say a bad word, yes. This is not baby book club, this is a regular book club. We've read some real spicy stuff in here. We usually beep boop it out, but we say the bad words. All right, St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. It took 5 trips in each of Charlotte and Bob's cars to transport the character from Starboardia to St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. They covered each pirate and sailor in scrubs and medical masks and quickly escorted them through the hospital to the empty commissary in the brand new wing. It would have been simpler if the Dalai Lama crew weren't such a curious bunch. They pocketed medical supplies as they passed unoccupied countertops. They snuck charts out of hospital room doors, and they stole pens out of the lapels of unobserving physicians. By the time they reached the commissary, the pirates' pockets were full of scissors, band-aids, medical tape, and a few of them even wore bedpans as hats. The commissary was wide and a colorful room. It had dozens of tables and hundreds of chairs, adjoining bathrooms, and a place for large enough to temporarily host Connor's characters. Ironically, the commissary had been decorated with the classic storybook theme. The walls were covered with murals of Alex and Connor's friends, and the support beams had been painted to look like book spines. Hey, Amanda, we just started chapter 18. Anticipating her children's return from the fairy tale world, Charlotte cleared a space in the corner of the commissary and placed the Land of Stories book and Connor's binder of short stories, on the floor. Once all the characters from Starboardia had been successfully escorted inside, the Emerald Storybook flipped open and the beam of light reappeared. Red ran out of the beam like a bull released from a pen and looked around the commissary. She sighed with relief and she stretched her arms out. "Oh, thank God, I am indoors," she said. "Hi, Red," Charlotte said. "Long time no see." Got distracted with cute kids' clothes are a big distraction, it's true. Without even making eye contact with the twins' mother or the Dalai Lama crew, Red ran to the window and yanked open the blinds. Rays of sunlight shined inside, and Red blissfully spun in them. "Daylight! Oh my God, I missed it so much," Red said, and she turned to the others. "No one look at me for like at least 20 minutes. I haven't seen the sun in weeks, and I'm paler than Snow White with a stomach flu." "Good to see you too, Red," Bob said under his breath. It wasn't long before the others from the fairy tale world joined her. Claudius ran out from behind the beam to Red, and unlike his mother, the wolf was very social. He did an excited lap around the commissary and visited with every single human that he saw. Jack and Goldilocks stepped out of the beam next and Jack helped his pregnant wife to the closest seat. They were joined shortly after by Robin Hood, the Merry Men, Lester, the Tin Woodman, Peter, the Lost Boys, and Trollbella. And just like the characters from Starboardia did when they arrived on Sycamore Drive, the characters from the fairy tale world and the classic literature stared in awe at the wonder of the new world around them. "Welcome to St. Andrew's Children's Hospital," Charlotte said. "So this is the other world," Jack said and whistled at the sight of it. "It's, colorful," Goldilocks said, and she side-eyed the decorations. "They certainly make reading a lifestyle in this place." Before Bob and Charlotte began the task of introducing the new characters to the old characters, Alex and Connor popped out of the beam of light beside them. "Oh, cool. We're already at the hospital," Connor said, and he cleared his throat. "Ladies, gentlemen, Chicken, Blissworm from my stories, let me introduce you to the ladies and gentlemen Goose and Wolf from the classic fairy tales and literature." The introduction didn't go as well as the twins had hoped. The characters circled one another like animals meeting in the wild. "Pirates," Peter shouted at the Dalai Lama crew. "Guys, knock it off," Alex said. "We're all on the same side here. These people are going to help us defeat the literary army." "Sorry," Peter said. "For whatever reason, I'm always inclined to shout pirates whenever I see them. It's a bad habit." The Rosary Chicken fearfully laid an egg as soon as she saw Claudius, and he chased after her. The Blissworm didn't want to miss out on the fun, so he jumped aboard the wolf and rode him like a cowboy. Lester thought that the Blissworm was the most delicious-looking worm he had ever seen, so he chased after the others, forming a bizarre parade of fictional creatures. "Rule number 1, Connor said, no one here is allowed to eat anyone else." And the Rosary Chicken then clucked with relief. Claudius and Lester stopped in their tracks and slumped. The Blissworm tugged on Claudius's collar. Connor didn't say the fun had to stop. It took the fairy tale characters a few moments to realize that many of them were painted on the walls throughout the commissary. They walked to their respective murals and stared at the artwork worryingly. Right? The Blissworm on Claudius is a hilarious sight. Like, you need him with a little cowboy hat going, "Yeah, yeah!" "Hey, look, boys, we're on the wall," Peter said and pointed to a mural of them. "Wait a minute, is this place a church? Are we gods in this world?"
Don't flatter yourself, Connor said. People just like your story here. The Tin Woodman found himself on a mural of the wonderful Wizard of Oz, but he didn't recognize the other three he was traveling down the yellow brick road with. Who are the people that I'm linking arms with? The Tin Woodman asked. Well, that's Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion, Alex explained. You would have met them in Oz if we hadn't found you first. Did they drop a barn on me as well? The Tin Woodman asked. I don't remember, Alex lied. Robin Hood and the Merry Men gathered around the mural of Robin Hood. The resemblance between the real Merry Men and the painted Merry Men was striking. However, Robin Hood was depicted very differently and very effeminately in the painting. He wore bright green tights and had short curly hair and no facial hair. I don't understand, Robin Hood said. What is my mother doing in this painting? Trollbella stared up in awe at the beautiful mural of Cinderella in a ball gown. She smiled from ear to ear and clutched her hands over her heart. Oh, my traveling heavens, it looks just like me, she said. There are some very talented painters in the other world. Red let out an ear-splitting scream when she saw the mural of Little Red Riding Hood. The twins looked between the real Red and the painted Red. They couldn't figure out why it was so offensive. All they saw was an adorable little girl in a red cape running from the big bad wolf. Red, what's the problem here? Alex asked. They made me a brunette, Red yelled. And the twins rolled their eyes. Red turned her back to the room and pouted as she continued to soak up the sun. Hey, that reminds me, Connor said. I need to go back to the Galaxy Queen and get the cyborgs. He went into his binder of short stories, flipped it open to the Galaxy Queen, and vanished into the beam of light. As he went, Alex noticed that Goldilocks and Jack were whispering to each other suspiciously, glaring from across the room. Is everything okay? Alex asked. Alex, my hormones are driving me mad, or... Wait, Alex, are my hormones driving me mad, or do that man and woman look exactly like Jack and me? Goldilocks asked. And Alex looked over at Auburn Sally and Admiral Jacobson on the other side of the room. They were also whispering to each other and shooting peculiar glances at Jack and Goldilocks. Clearly, they were having the exact same conversation. Not really, Brittany, but I was just doing it just in case. Yeah, Alex said. A lot of Connor's characters are based on people that he knows, but trust me, it could be a lot worse than the Captain and the Admiral. And as soon as she said this, the Cyborg Queen charged out of the Galaxy Queen in a beam of light. She ignored everyone in the commissary and rolled directly to the windows where Red stood. 2 large solar panels came out of her metal soldiers, and she pointed them toward the sun. Daylight. Oh my god, thank goodness, the Cyborg Queen said. I haven't had a solar charge in like weeks. Excuse me? Red said, and the Cyborg Queen stretched her solar panels so far that she took up the whole window. You're blocking my light, Red said. Who says it's your light to begin with? The Cyborg Queen said. Red was appalled by her rudeness, and so she left the window and took a seat by Jack and Goldilocks. I don't know who or what that woman is, but she is terrible, Red said. And Goldilocks fought a smile and leaned closer to Alex. Oh, I see what you mean, she said. Connor and Commander Neuters hurried out from behind the Galaxy Queen's beam and cleared a large area of the commissary, stacking chairs and tables on top of one another until there was a large open space. Connor, what's that for? Charlotte asked. It's for the cyborgs, he said, and Neuters removed a small remote from his belt and pointed it at the beam. 20 mechanized wagons carrying 50 cyborg soldiers each rolled out of the beam of light. The cyborgs were deactivated, and they were stacked on top of one another like folding chairs. Neuters steered the wagons into the clearing area and parked them. Is that humane? Bob said with wide eyes. Probably not, Neuters said, but if we keep them deactivated until battle, we'll save a fortune on our electric bill. The characters settled into the group throughout the commissary like high school cliques. The people of each dimension had their own set of tables and cautiously eyed one another from afar. Will they be okay? Charlotte asked. Yeah, they'll warm up to each other, Connor said, and then he whistled to get the room's attention. Hey, everybody listen up. Alex and I have to head into my next story to recruit more characters, so everyone please be nice to one another while we're gone. Mom and Bob are in charge unless they have to go to work, and then Jack and Goldilocks are in charge. The characters from Starboardia and the Galaxy Queen and the Land of Stories, Sherwood Forest, Neverland, and Oz all nodded respectfully, and then they quickly returned to watching one another apprehensively. Alex and Connor hugged Charlotte and Bob and went to the binder of stories. Connor flipped it open to the next story and poured 3 drops of the portal potion onto the pages. Connor stepped toward the beam of light that appeared, but Alex stopped him before he entered it. "Hold on a second," she said. "You're supposed to tell me what we're going to expect at the next stop, and don't spare any detail this time, because if there are bug guts, I want to be prepared." "The next story is called The Ziblings," Connor explained. "It's about 4 kids with superhuman powers. They've lost their parents at an early age and they went to live in the same orphanage. One night, an asteroid carrying cosmic radiation hit their orphanage and it affected their DNA, giving them phenomenal abilities. They were all adopted by a billionaire astrophysicist named Professor Wallet and taken to his laboratory where he raised them and trained them to become superheroes." "Professor Wallet?" Alex asked. "Yeah, I lost my wallet that day that I was writing it, so I thought it would be a good name," Connor said. "Okay, moving on. We're going to travel to their city and meet them at the scene of a bank robbery. While they're saving the bank, we're going to sneak inside the Zibling mobile and follow them back to the secret laboratory. And then there we'll ask them to join us." "Will they cooperate?" she asked. "The Ziblings are very competitive siblings," Connor said. "They'll never pass up a challenge, especially if there's an opportunity for them to outshine each other." "Okay," Alex said with a nod. "Sounds super." "Ugh, leave the jokes to me," Connor said. And the twins stepped into the beam of light and disappeared from St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. Dun dun dun. Mommy needs a sip of coffee. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to kick you guys.
A weird ending to the book.
Yeah, it is weird, right? Oh no! Are you awake, my angel? Sounds super. Hold on a second. Let me take her out of here so she can go in her chair and be comfy. You want to go in your chair? You want to go in your chair? You see Dada? There he is. You want to go in your chair? You want to go with Dada? You need a hug first? We need a hug first? Okay. Nope, can't go over there, honey. Is it? I actually don't know, Jen. I've never seen it.
Come here, baby. Come here.
I don't know. You want to show her her tent?
You want to be there for
Oh, sure. I was waiting for you so that you didn't have to miss it, but, you know. I know, she's always so excited to see Dad. Let's see how many pages we have left. All right. We are on page 289. Chapter 19 is called The Ziblings. Yeah, it's a beautiful Christmas tree, huh, sweetheart? All right, here we go. The Ziblings. Are you ready, sweetheart? Connor's handwriting wiggled and zoomed through the air as the words "the Ziblings" created around the world. The Ziblings created around him, not the word, sorry, and his sister. The word highway stretched beneath their feet, and Alex and Connor were suddenly standing in the middle of a wide country road. Cars and large trucks honked and swerved to avoid them, and they dashed to the side of the highway to avoid getting hit. Alex and Connor looked up and saw large city limit signs above them. It read, "Big City, USA. Population 7,645,321. Once the handwritten words finished constructing the new dimension, the twins saw the highway led to an enormous city a couple of miles in the distance. It had the tallest and leanest skyscrapers that Alex had ever seen. The skyline looked more like a bundle of pencils and pens than a row of buildings. "Big City, USA?" Alex asked. "You couldn't come up with anything more original than that?" "It was supposed to be a placeholder until I came up with a better name, but Big City, USA grew on me," Connor said. "Now let's get back to the bank before it gets robbed without us." Alex laughed. "Now that's something I've never heard before," she said. The twins walked down the road, the entire busy city, and entered the busy city. The world of the Ziblings was like a highly exaggerated version of the other world. The buildings were more colorful, the streets were cleaner, and the cars were shinier. Even the people were more extravagant. The men were taller and broader shouldered, wider jaws. The women had impeccable hair, makeup, and clothes, and even the children were cuter and more behaved. It was like the twins had entered a 1950s cartoon. Alex and Connor zigzagged through the city streets, and they walked down Main Street and made a right at Center Road and then a left on First Avenue. Alex wasn't sure which city Connor was emulating for the Ziblings setting because Big City USA had the characteristics of every American city she could think of. There were subway stations like in New York, bridges like in San Francisco, and Great Lakes like in Chicago. Big City USA was written across the hillside just like the Hollywood sign. They eventually found the Big City Bank in the middle of First Avenue. It was a large white building with thick pillars and a massive dome. It reminded Alex of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and the twins walked up the front steps and went inside. The bank had marble floors, golden pillars, and wooden counters. There were high ceilings, tall windows, and lots of elaborate lighting structures. A long line of big city citizens waited patiently to be helped by one of a dozen bank tellers. There were also desks scattered around the bank where the bank tellers helped other citizens open new accounts and apply for loans. No one appeared to have been rejected because all the applicants had big smiles on their faces and they happily shook the bankers' hands. Connor took his sister to the far end of the bank near the back door. He got down on the floor, laid face down, and put his hands over his head. "Are you doing yoga?" Alex asked. "No, I'm getting ready," he said. "We're just in time." "For what?" "The robbery," he said as if it were obvious. "It should be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2... 5 armed robbers then stormed into the bank. They wore all black and had mouse ears and whiskers attached to their masks. The robbers fired their guns into the air to get everyone's attention. It was startling, even to Alex, and she had known it was coming. "Everyone get on the ground," the largest robber shouted. "Face down with your hands on your heads. No talking, and don't make me tell you twice." The citizens screamed, and they did what they were told. Alex joined her brother on the floor and copied his pose. The robbers drew big duffel bags out onto the wooden counters and pointed their guns at the tellers. "Empty the safe," the largest robber shouted, "and don't you dare try any funny business or I'll blow you all to the sky." The trembling tellers did exactly what the robbers demanded. They opened the gigantic safe at the back of the bank and they began filling the duffel bags with stacks of cash and bars of gold. "What's up with the ears and the whiskers and the masks?" Alex whispered to her brother. "It's part of their gimmick," he said. "These guys are called the Rat Pack, and they're the most infamous bank robbers in Big City, USA. The tall one there's name is Frank. He's the leader. And then there are his henchmen, Sammy, Dean, Joey, and Peter." "Just like the Rat Pack from the 60s, Alex said, and Connor scrunched up his forehead. "Dang it! I thought I made that up," he said. "I must have heard the names from someone." "You two!" Frank yelled. "I said no talking!" And he pointed his gun at the twins. Alex and Connor went silent. The Rat Pack walked around the bank and patrolled their hostages. They nudged the terrified citizens with their feet and laughed wildly as the hostages cowered and squirmed. After a few minutes of lying uncomfortably on the floor and watching the robbers torment the men and women, Alex was very eager to see the Ziblings come to the rescue. It was taking all her self-control not to transform the Rat Pack into actual rodents. Connor tapped his sister and gestured to one of the windows. Alex looked up and saw the silhouette of a man wearing a cape. He stood heroically with his hands on his hips. Alex was so excited to see a real superhero that her stomach filled with butterflies, but the feeling quickly subsided. It took a moment for the superhero to enter the bank because, not because he was conducting a plan, but because he couldn't get the window open. Finally, with a strong tug, the hero managed to pry it open. He crawled through the small opening, and then he stepped on his cape and slipped off the windowsill. He crashed onto the floor behind the desk with a very loud thump, and everyone in the bank heard the crash and jerked their heads toward it. The Rat Pack clutched their guns tighter and slowly approached the desk. The hostages waited on pins and needles, hoping that it was someone who would come to their rescue. "Oh, good, Brittany. Which flavor did you get?" The superhero jumped out from behind the desk and struck the same heroic pose as he had on the window. And after a closer look, Alex was surprised that he was actually an adorable boy of no more than 12 years old. He wore a sky blue suit and a dark blue mask and matching gloves, boots, and cape. He had dark, messy hair, plump cheeks, and green eyes. Oh, that's the best, Brittany. Upon seeing him, the robbers snickered and the hostages lost all hope. Apparently no one had any faith in this hero's capabilities. "Don't worry, boys, it's just Bolt," Frank laughed. "The Ziblings sent the runt of the litter." Bolt shifted uncontrollably at the blatant disrespect. "Hello, Rat Pack," the boy said in a tone obviously deeper than his real voice. "I see that you've escaped prison and gone right back to your old tricks. I guess you can take the rats out of the garbage, but you can't take the garbage out of the rats." "But you can't take the garbage out of the rats," Frank mocked him. "You really need to work on your playful jargon if you want to be taken seriously." "And you need to work on following the law," Bolt said. "Good thing that there are people like me to put you back in your place." Frank turned to his henchman. "Get him," he said. "But don't waste your bullets. He isn't worth it." The boy's face turned bright red. "Oh, yes, I am," he argued. "I'm worth all the bullets you've got." Bolt became angry and his superpowers were activated. His body was covered in static electricity. His messy hair rose up above his head and tiny electric waves buzzed all around his fingertips. Bolt somersaulted toward Frank and with the lightest touch of his index finger he zapped the robber on his leg. "Ouch," Frank said. "That almost hurt a little." The boy cartwheeled onto Sammy and Dean and shocked them on the arms. They dived to the other side of the bank and zapped Joey on the nose and Peter on the ear. Bolt was very proud of himself, but his efforts did little to actually wound the Rat Pack. They just looked more irritated than they were before. "I changed my mind. Shoot him," Frank instructed, and Bolt flew through the air to avoid the bullet, not with the grace of an eagle or a hawk, but with the clumsiness of a baby bird. His erratic flight pattern made it difficult for the Rat Pack to aim their guns at him, so they flipped their weapons over and swung at him like baseball bats. Frank knocked Bolt out of the air, and the not-so-superhero hit the floor. "Tie him up," Frank ordered, and he eyed the hostages. "And for the rest of you, back to work. The show's over." The Rat Pack tied Bolt to a chair, and the tellers continued emptying the vault. Eventually, the vault was clear, and the duffel bags were bulging with cash and gold. The tellers handed the bags back to the Rat Pack, and the robbers headed for the door. Bolt tried to free himself from the restraints, but they were just too strong. "This transaction has been a pleasure," Frank announced to the bank. "See you all next time." And suddenly, a thunderous crash came from above. 3 more superheroes dropped in from the dome ceiling, and the rest of the Ziblings had arrived. The oldest sibling was about 16 and very athletic. He wore a bright yellow tank top, baggy yellow pants, and big sneakers with a headband. His muscly arms were bare, and he caught fire as soon as he touched the ground. The second oldest sibling was a 15-year-old girl. She wore a pink suit with a built-in miniskirt, and she had sandy blonde hair that was braided into 2 long pigtails. She had complete control over her hair, which twirled the braids like blades of a helicopter until she came to a safe landing. The third oldest sibling wore a dark green suit and a leather jacket, and instead of a mask, he wore a very dark sunglasses. His arms transformed into large feathered wings as he glided to the floor and transformed back once he landed. All the citizens, tellers, and bankers sighed with relief when the older siblings arrived. The Rat Pack robbers simultaneously gulped and eyed one another nervously. Bolt rolled his eyes at his siblings' splashy entrance. He had been hoping to handle the Rat Pack without them. "Hello, Frank, Sammy, Dean, Joey, and Peter," the oldest said, acting as the siblings' leader. "Have you come out of the sewer for some fresh air?" "Hello, Blaze, Whitney, and Morph," Frank said. "Have you come to save your little brother?" "I don't need to be saved," Bolt said. "Being tied to the chair is a part of my plan, which you guys are totally ruining." The siblings ignored their little brother as if he weren't even in the room. They locked eyes with the Rat Pack and they never looked away. "We've come to take you and your boys back to prison," Blaze said. "You belong in a cage, just like all other rodents." The siblings charged toward the Rat Pack, and the robbers ran for the door. Morph jumped in front of them and transformed into a brick wall. His sunglasses were the only remaining physical trait. He was now blocking the robbers' exit, and so they ran for the back door. Whitney whipped her head back and forth and wrapped her braids around Sammy and Dean's ankles. She raised them into the air and knocked them into each other until they fell unconscious to the ground. Yeah, it is, right? Especially if you just use like half a packet per cup. Joey and Peter aimed their guns at Blaze, or per glass, not per cup, rather. He pointed at them with 2 fiery geysers blasting out of his fingertips. The robbers were set on fire, and they dropped to the floor and rolled around to extinguish the flames. Morph transformed into a huge cage, and Whitney scooped up Dean, Sammy, Joey, and Peter with her hair and threw all the robbers inside the cage. They had caught their rats in the pack, all except for one. I did a pack in 20... Yeah, in a larger one it works, Susan. Frank jumped over the wooden counter and ran to the back of the bank. He jumped inside the vault and locked the enormous metal doors behind him. Blaze followed him and pressed his palms against the vault door. He heated the vault so much that it turned bright orange and melted away. Whitney reached into the vault with her hair and pulled Frank out. She tossed him into the cage with the others. The bank hostages leapt to their feet in celebration. They cheered and applauded their rescuers. Everyone was thrilled that the siblings had saved another day in Big City, USA. Everyone but Bolt. "You're in so much trouble," Blaze told his little brother. "Why?" Bolt said. "I had everything under control before you guys showed up." "You know the rules," Whitney said. "No crime fighting until your homework is done, and Dad doesn't want you doing it without us." "I can take care of myself," Bolt said. I can do anything you guys can do. You just never give me a chance. You never even let me prove myself. Prove yourself? The cage Morph had turned into said. You can't even get out of that chair. How are you supposed to help people if you can't even help yourself? Whitney said. Tears came to Bolt's eyes, and he looked away from his siblings. It was an expression layered with embarrassment, frustration, self-doubt, and heartache all in one. Alex knew that look. She could have sworn that she had seen it somewhere before. And suddenly, memories surfaced like a movie playing in her mind, and Alex flashed back to when she and Connor were in elementary school. All right, let's all go around the room and say what we want to be when we grow up, their second grade teacher told the class. A doctor, one boy said. A senator, a girl said. A teacher, Alex remembered saying. And her brother sat up in the desk and excitedly shared his answer. A fireman, he said. I want to help people. And even then, Connor wasn't as good of a student as Alex was. He had trouble learning to read, how to spell, and how to do math. He was always asking Alex for help with his homework, and she became mad that he couldn't keep up with her. So when Connor gave his answer about his plans for the future, Alex was inclined to respond. A fireman? She asked. How are you supposed to help people if you can't even help yourself? Everyone in class laughed. Alex didn't mean any harm by it. She was so young, it just slipped out of her mouth. Even though it had happened almost 10 years before, the expression on Connor's face had been engraved in her memory forever. That was exactly how Bolt looked at his siblings now. Soon, the front steps of the bank were filled with police and reporters. Morph transformed back into his human form, and Whitney and Blaze pushed the Rat Pack robbers outside and into the hands of the police. The siblings spoke with the reporters about what had happened. They took all the credit and soaked up all the attention, leaving Bolt tied to the chair outside. Now's a good time to sneak into the Zibling mobile, Connor whispered to Alex. The twins exited Big City Bank through the back door, and Alex followed Connor into the alley behind it. The Zibling mobile was a bright red convertible with rocket engines and a bright yellow Z painted on the side. The car was parked outside and out of sight between two dumpsters, but Connor knew exactly where to find it. He felt around the back tire and pulled a spare key out of a hidden compartment. He opened the trunk and crawled inside it. Come on, Connor said and offered his sister a hand. Alex was hesitant before joining him. Something heavy weighed on her heart. Quick question, she said. Is this story based on anything that happened in real life? I mean, anything maybe that happened between us? Connor thought about it, but he shook his head. No. This one's completely made up, he said. I just loved superheroes when I was a kid, and the Ziblings was the first story I ever wrote. Alex didn't press the issue further. She just nodded and climbed into the trunk with him. Connor may have forgotten what happened in second grade, but Alex couldn't shake it. It was just the mean exchange in elementary school that bothered her, though. Alex wasn't just the mean exchange that bothered her, though. Alex was worried that the Ziblings was much closer to home than Connor realized, and she might be this story's villain. Sad. Dun, dun, dun. All right. I got to run to class, so we can't have too much of a chat today, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. Poor Connor. Bye, guys.